and welcome back to the Shoogly shed. We're going to take a little bit of a break from rebuilding the Vmax today to fabricate something that I'd kind of been holding off on until I got the big fat rear wheel in place. So basically we want to mount the license plate, the registration plate, and the registration plate light. Now the obvious thing would be to mount it up here, but there's tire clearance issues and also aesthetic issues. John used to have a Triumph Rocket 3 and it had a cool sort of arm coming off with the plate on the back, so it's probably going to try and simulate that kind of idea. So some kind of arm coming off, probably the differential here, coming around the back with the registration plate here and the little light above it. Quite simple but effective, hopefully. Yeah, and like I say, I wanted to have the wheel in place before I kind of figured out the shape and size of that. So something quite simple, but let's see if we can knock that out today. Right, first thing to figure out is exactly where we're going to mount this thing. The axle usually has a spacer on the outside before the nut goes on. So my kind of plan is to create a spacer in place of that spacer that can get, you know, clamped on when the wheel nut goes on, which the arm can get welded onto. So I've got a little bit of bar stock here. It's a 20mm internal diameter I need to take out on the lathe to bore that out, turn it down a little bit flatter, and then I'll hopefully have a custom spacer that I can put onto there, and like I say, weld on the arm from there. Now, one point's obviously not enough because that will, you know, won't stop it dropping off or moving. So I need to think about another place to mount, potentially off the shock mount here, or another wee idea I had was this is the filler cap for the differential fluid. It's a nice big, like 17mm chunky nut with quite a lot of thread on it. So perhaps another spacer under that in a similar fashion that can be welded on. Yeah, bolt that down, bolt that one on, and then that will hopefully hold it quite steady. There's some options anyway, so yeah, let's have a wee think about that. Let's turn down some spacers. Right, two spacers turned out in the lathe there. They're quite fat. This one is going to go on to where the differential oil kind of filler plug goes. Good thing is that that's quite a fat plug, like it's really a long thread on it, so I've managed to make quite a thick spacer but still plenty of threads to go in. It also doesn't need to be torqued up hugely tight, just tight enough basically that the oil doesn't come out. You just put a wee crush washer under it. It's not really under any pressure as such, so that's quite a convenient place to put that. And then this one will go on the end of the actual wheel spindle. So this one obviously is a bit slimmer because I don't have as much thread to play with, and you obviously want your like spindle thread, like the wheel nut, to go on sufficiently to keep your wheel on. So that's pretty much all I've got to play with. So I need to find a way of fattening this at one side in order to weld something to it that's a bit more substantial, because there's not a lot to weld onto there. So I'm thinking some kind of sort of teardrop shape, to turn this into a teardrop shape I should say, coming off from there. Some kind of bracketry that I can then weld on and skim off on the lathe, just in order to make sure that that is completely true and it doesn't interfere with where the nut goes on. So that's my next job. Right, so this is what I've come up with. It's welded in here, along here, and in these edges here. Then I've taken it down in the lathe nice and smooth so that it fits flush on there. So the good thing about this is it doesn't take up that much space when it gets clamped on, but I've got a nice big section here to weld a support onto, and then this piece will be going on here with another support welded onto that. So hopefully that will provide enough support for a license plate registration holder to go on the back of the bike, not flex too much and not snap and fall off. Alright, this is my temporary axle. As you know, I'm still waiting on the axle to come back from coating, but basically it holds it enough in the right position that I can start to figure out where I want this to go. So what kind of angle I want. Once I've figured out an angle, I can make a bend in this rod. So it's 10mm rod, it's nice and stiff, but when it's linked up with the second piece, hopefully it will be rock solid. So yeah, I've got a cool little tool I'll show you in a second that I'm going to have a go at for the first time. We'll see if we can bend the rod to the right shape and then get the second piece on, and hopefully once it's all sort of tacked in position we just weld it all up and then the job's a good one. Right, this is an inductor, a mini inductor. If you've not seen these before, what these do is they heat up a portion of metal basically really precisely, so it doesn't heat up the rest of the metal, it just heats up the bit that you want to heat, and then, you know, it does it quite rapidly, and then you can obviously bend or manipulate the metal to the shape that you want. Good thing about this is you're not got like a blowtorch flame firing about, and like I say, it doesn't heat up anything else, it just heats up that wee portion of metal. So I've never used it before, I was given this by a friend, so let's see if we can have a go and see if it works. Yeah, that's pretty cool, isn't it? that is an awesome piece of kit. That made that complete child's play. That was awesome. Science. I think these are pretty expensive, so I'm exceptionally lucky to be given one for free from a friend. So thank you so much, Claire. You legend. So with these in place, what I need to do now is cut some pieces to basically weld in and join them together. And then, yeah, almost done. Looking good, I like it. Well, I think that's a pretty cool result. Nice little bit of fabrication, makes a break from just bolting parts on. It was something I was considering doing earlier, but like I said, I was really wanting to wait until I got this wheel in place so I could really get a visual for how it's going to look. But I think that's a really neat solution that bolts on really smoothly, and you know, a license plate just goes on there. This top bit is for a light to illuminate the registration plate, the license plate, which is a legal requirement in the UK. And then, yeah, just run some thin cable down there to that light. Awesome, really chuffed with that. Next episode will hopefully be the arrival of a lot of stuff back from various coatings, cerakoting and anodizing and things like that. So I've said this a number of times, but hopefully when that stuff comes back, we'll kind of go into hypersonic with this build and get it all back together quite quickly. I'm going to get this off to get powder coated, just black, like the rest of the bike. Yeah, another job ticked off the list. Anyway, as usual, please do give me a like, leave me a comment, and make sure you subscribe to the Shoogly Shed channel. I appreciate all the support. I will see you next time. Take care. Goodbye. New favourite tool.